All right. Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much for rejoining me here, Everyday Talks with me, Paula Roscoe. This is our fourth episode, and this is really exciting for me that women are interested in what we're discussing. It came about due to wanting another avenue to reach more women after launching my online women's magazine, Everyday Woman. Gosh, I can't believe that was 9 months ago. And my aim is to educate because knowledge is power. I'm here to support women, to help them heal old wounds, to rise up and celebrate who we are, not what society tells us we should be. Now, today's topic, judging from the response that I've been receiving from women when announcing it, is obviously a big one for women, as every single woman could identify with this and hated it and loved it at the same time. There was a real kind of yin and yang thing going on. And I agree that it does need to be addressed. The menopause. We either love it or hate it. Or as some women told me, the dreaded menopause. The hot sweats, the sleepless nights, the brain fog, the increased weight, the sluggishness, the mood swings, all of these things that women told me that they were experiencing or had experienced, it was terrorizing them. They were terrified of having to endure it. And for those women who were just starting to tip into the menopause, known as the perimenopause, they were absolutely terrified that it was going to wreck their life. And I bet I see many women nodding to this already. So let's meet my guests for this chat on what is one of the most powerful and visceral subjects for women and girls. So please, ladies, unmute and speak your truth. Who have we got today? Gloria.
Hey Paula, nice
Hey,
to
how
be
you
here.
doing?
Thank you for inviting me. Um, okay, who am I? I'm Gloria Helen, board certified holistic health practitioner, um, essential emotions coach, menopause certified menopause coach, hormone coach, and TEDx speaker, author, all that. But that's not important today because what's important is the topic we're going to be talking about because I have a passion for women's health, right? We need to, which is why I did a TED talk about it. We need to change the approach to women's health because we are so underserved on this planet. They don't pay attention to us, so we have to take control of our health. So that's why I get on my soapbox, and I'm always happy to speak, whether I have an itchy throat or not. I have to speak about women's health because education is power, knowledge is power, and that's what we need. We need to take back control of everything happening with us, and we can. And menopause should not be the dreaded menopause. We can actually thrive through it. It's all about understanding what's going on. Once we understand what's going on in our body and give it, what it needs to thrive, we can actually, ease through the transition with grace. That's what I say. So happy to be here and have this conversation with you both.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Gloria. And we have Helen. Hello, Helen.
Hi, I'm a natural healer. My name's Helen at Sunflower Hearts. For me, the menopause is a deeply transformative journey that I've been on, still on, in, and it's affected me, I would say, physically, mentally, emotionally, and it's just been a slow transformative stage for me, learning learning about my body as an older woman or as an elder, um, shedding the layers of who I needed to be. Whereas now I feel more grounded in myself, where I know who I am. I don't need to be anybody else for anybody else. There was a moment of exhaustion, emotional intensity, sensitivity, and deep self-reflection that I've been journeying on, but also moments of awakening, clarity, empowerment, and learning to honor my body in a new way. And I've become increasingly more passionate about creating open conversations about the menopause and all sorts of different subjects involving women's health and health in general, I always try to come from a a natural place. I look for natural ways of whether it be through movement or the foods that I put in my body or the weeds and wild medicines that I use to support my system. I've also used Chinese medicine and acupuncture, which has really supported really supported my system. The hot flushes, I don't tend to have so much. I do know that if I eat certain foods, it reacts to me. And yeah, I could keep talking deeper into this, and I will, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have a conversation about this. So thank you so much, Helen. So what I really wanted to get down to was two things really during this conversation, because we could talk about this forever, couldn't we? Let's be
Mm,
honest. The menopause is such a huge, vast thing. But I really wanted to look at what could we offer women? What can we sort of give advice about that to help women? And Gloria and Helen, I think you've both got really valid, beautiful ways that could help women to work through it and not see it as as you said, the dreaded,
mm,
this terror, this thing that's going to sort of destroy our bodies and take away our minds. And the other thing that I wanted to look at was what came up for a lot of women when I was talking to them about this was how they were suddenly treated differently because they were going through the menopause. How
mm,
their families treated them, how society treated them, how work treated them, how their friends treated them. The whole thing, it's like, oh, you're going through the menopause, suddenly seemed to shift to, you know, and some of the names, I'm trying to um, find some of the things that some people told me. Um, I did write them down. Oh, yeah. So here they are. So some of the worst things that women told me that they've been called: overreacting, stupid, attention seeking, which I found abominable, fat, a big glutton, ugly, unworthy. And one that really hit home for women was old. So I really want to sort of address these because these are things that when I spoke to women about menopause, those were the two main things that they were dreading, how they were going to get through it, but more
mm,
importantly, how society and how their peers were going to allow them to get through it. Yeah. so
mm.
so what do you think, ladies?
Um, I'm just I'm just flabbergasted by those words,
Yeah,
first and
yeah,
foremost.
yeah.
Um, I wouldn't associate myself as older because you're only as old as you feel.
Mhm,
It's not about age, it's a transition that is going to happen to every single woman on the planet. It's biology.
mhm,
Can't get
mhm,
away from it, right? And for someone like me who has been through menopause previously, it's kind of like perimenopause, but my second rodeo because the first time I went through it was through breast cancer treatment because
okay.
the drugs they give you no, the symptoms you get from them or side effects are menopausal symptoms. So the
Mhm,
first time it was crazy, right? So now biology is taking its course, right? So I've been there, done that. I got the t-shirt, so I know exactly what I need to do, right?
mhm,
So it's all about, as Helen quite rightly said, it's all about understanding your body.
mm,
And every woman would go through this in a different way. Well, it's a very individual process, right? You have to figure out what's going on with you. First of all, you have to understand your body,
mhm,
right? And you also have to understand the space that you're in, because a lot of women at this point, talking about trying to relate it to the podcast episode I just released today was about the sandwich generation, right? A lot of women going through perimenopause, menopause right now are in that generation, right? And a lot of the reasons why their symptoms are probably worse is because they're highly stressed out, which means that their nervous system is dysregulated,
Mm.
Right. Yeah.
right? So we
Mm.
have to look at the biology of what's going on. It's not a failing of the woman because she's not doing X, Y, Z, or she's not paying attention to self-care, whatever. No, it's not the failing of the woman because she can only do as much as she can in that space of time that she has, if she has any time to herself at all. Because she might be looking after aging parents, she might have teenagers. So you have aging parents, teenagers, you've got your life that is going haywire, you've got your work, you've got this, you're not sleeping, that so everything is exacerbated.
Yeah.
So it's taking it that step back and looking at what is biology saying in my own body. It's not about going straight up, I need HRT. HRT is not for every woman. It's not for me.
Mm.
So nature is the route I take, right?
Mm.
So, and the thing is with HRT and complementary, they can complement each other, right? So again, it's going back to every woman understanding what works for her, what her biology is, what her symptoms are trying to tell her, how stressed out she is, looking at the lifestyle and looking for ways and tools to support the body.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's going that step back, going to the root cause, because there's a root cause, there's a trigger, figure out what that is and try to work through it with your healthcare provider or with a coach or whoever, because you need support. We all need support.
Hmm.
That's what we need. And going to what was the second part, Paula?
How society
Oh my
treats women.
God. Seriously, I think thankfully it's not so much of a taboo anymore. We can actually talk about menopause. That's why we're having this conversation, right? Because I also do corporate wellness work, and I get asked to come into corporates to talk about menopause, right? And I would say about 3, 4 years ago, it was a non-starter, but things have progressed, and
Mm.
things are. I would say the way I put it is that the door has been opened a crack. We just need to swing it wide open,
Oh, I
right?
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about, yeah, what society would look at us differently if we act differently, if
Mm.
we take that power back, if we say no to a lot of what is going on that shouldn't be going on,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think for us, we need to change the narrative. Don't wait for society to dictate who you are, where you are, and what you're about. It's up to you to make that choice and dictate that to people. So I would not necessarily pay too much attention to society, what society says, because it changes. It's very, you know, it can be flippant sometimes, and it can be really, really really bad. Like, some of the words that you came up with, and I was like, I'm not stupid. No,
Yeah.
that's not what it is at all. You've completely missed the point. It's not
Yeah.
about being stupid. It's because I think Helen also said this. This is a transition. This is a space
Mm.
where you are rediscovering who you are as a woman that is going through this transition. It's a new life. It's a journey, right? What used to work for you in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, or 20s and 30s, we'll leave it there, will never work for you anymore.
Mm.
Body's doing something else. So you have to find out what your body is doing and make the changes that would work for you in this lifetime. Because, yeah, there's so many things. One thing that a lot of women say is, "Hmm, I have a low tolerance for nonsense."
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Totally agree on that one.
low tolerance for nonsense. And that's a power because you found your voice and you can set boundaries. It's like, no, I'm not doing that, right?
Hmm.
Isn't that empowering?
Yeah, you
Oh,
find the
definitely,
power.
definitely. I mean, there's stuff that I think about now that I think, God, I wish I'd known that in my 20s and 30s. You know,
Yeah.
if people say to me, if you could go back in time, and I sort of, I'd only go back in time if I could take the knowledge and the wisdom that I have now as a 55-year-old woman and take
Yeah.
it back to my 20-year-old and say, come on, you
Yeah.
know.
Come on.
You can
But
do
we don't
this.
have that, do we?
You're
We
strong
don't have
enough.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know,
So,
yeah.
Helen, you were talking about you mentioned acupuncture there. Um,
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
So, I'd say my journey as a whole, when I was younger, I would feel into my womb space to make any decisions and feel into there. And that's where we were led. That's where you're led when you're a younger person, a younger female. But as you grow and as you age and you go through the transformation of menopause, that shifts and it rises to the third eye. That's where the wisdom comes from. As you get older, as you age, the feminine especially, because we create life, we are very in tune with the natural rhythm we create. But that moves as you age, it moves higher and you learn how to find that deeper wisdom. And I think that's where society forgets or doesn't recognize or they don't tap into that part of themselves because they've always been shown as society as a whole from my own experience. And I'm 50 this year. So when I was younger, I wasn't told about periods and bleeding and I it had arrived by the time I was told about bleeding. And as I've got older, it's the same. It's the journey has been my own. I've only learnt on my own from other people around me, my own community, my own sisters, and I've developed a lot more experience. So with me as well, yeah, the Chinese medicine and the acupuncture. Acupuncture really supports your chi, and it also, you have channels within your body, your meridians, and it's all connected to the nervous system as well. It connects to all the different systems, but acupuncture is where you have a pin, you have a needle put into certain points within the body, and it shifts and it blends and it clears, it allows it to flow naturally. I didn't actually initially go for acupuncture for the menopause. I actually went when I lost my daughter back in 2016 to try and lift me, to try and help me because I was in a space where I was a very unfamiliar space in my life where I had dealt with a lot of grief and I knew I needed some form of support. And I looked into it and it's really helped. I was at a stage when I lost my daughter because I just turned 40. So I knew that I was coming to a different space within myself. I actually thought I was stepping into the menopause when I fell pregnant with my daughter, Ivy Rose. I thought I was, because I hadn't bled for a couple of months, I thought, because I never did miss a bleed and I had very short bleeds and I'd gone this long period without a bleed. And I thought I was coming into menopause. I hadn't, obviously, but a couple of years later, I think I'm in my four and a half, maybe 5 years since I last bled. Um, and yeah, it gradually I learned that this benefited me in more ways than one, and I recognized that acupuncture was supporting my menopausal state. It helps with, because you can have too much fire or you can have too much water. Or if you've got a blend of the two, it causes dampness in the body where you can have suffer with your chest or you can become overheated and become flushed. So it helps with hot flushes when you have acupuncture. Also different weeds and wild medicines support it. Things like my brain's not working. Mugwort. It's really good for the menopause. It helps stabilize the menopause, but it also helps with pain and discomfort. So your body changes, and as your body's changing, you find discomfort or call it pain if you want to in different parts of the body. Um, for me, I've found that my joints became quite uncomfortable for a while, but I knew that I needed to find a way of balancing the estrogen within my body as well, which I'm still on a journey of doing. I take different mushrooms to support that as well. Things like reishi and lion's mane, which helps with the fogginess of the brain. Also ashwanga, which is a different root. These all help with the mental side of things because I think when you go through the menopause, your head does get affected in many, many ways. You just have this brain fart where you just it disappears and it
Yeah,
can last like that. It can be like that for days and days where you can't think to and the exhaustion. I've never needed to sleep so much in all my life. I know I did when I was a child, but I do feel like, when as you're growing and you get the growing pains in the body and your legs and your arms as you're growing as a child, I do think you go through a similar transformation with the physical body as well as, the emotional and the mental and the spiritual body.
yeah,
I
yeah.
hope that's answered that. Did I? Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're giving us your perspective, which is beautiful. So, so it seems like there's, there's a few avenues that women can go to, obviously, and I absolutely agree with you, Gloria and Helen. It is about getting in touch with your body. What does each body need? And each body is individual.
Mm,
But let's just look at your average woman. As you said, Gloria, she could be juggling this, she's doing that.
mm,
She's on the ball, she's doing a 9 to 5, she's running herself ragged. Your average woman, would you say she has time to listen to her body and think, right, okay, I need this, I need this, and this? Or is she going to just take it for granted that the medical side of things are going to take care of it? Like you mentioned HRT. When
mm,
I first went to the doctors a few years ago and said, I think I'm going through menopause, I hadn't bled for years because I had an ablation in 2017. So I wasn't 100% sure. But I was noticing that I was gaining weight and I was brain fog. And I thought, well, maybe this is just me, because I'm an author, I'm sitting down all the time and my brain's going 10 to the dozen. And the first thing she said was, oh, we'll try you on HRT. And I thought, is that normal? That just here, this is going to help you.
Mm,
And I wondered afterwards, I thought, is this what all women think that the medical are just going to step in and say, here,
mm,
take this pill, you'll be fine. Or I was given a pill and something you rub onto your skin,
mm,
some kind of gel.
mm,
Didn't notice any difference after 3 months and I gave up anyway. And I now use something else. I use, like you, Helen, I use various mushrooms and things.
mm,
And I use breath work and I use walking in nature. And again, I'm very much in tune with my body, but that comes from being the journey that I'm on. I'm
mm,
trying to be a bit devil's advocate here. Your average woman,
mm.
she may not be like that. And she's just running herself ragged, hoping that someone is going to give her the answers. What do you think?
You're right, because the thing is, a lot of women don't know exactly what's going on for starters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that you wake up one day and you're in menopause. A lot of women don't know that there is that first stage of transition to menopause called perimenopause.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in a group of women having a conversation about hormones, and at least two or three of them, when I mentioned the word perimenopause, didn't know what that was, right?
I'm actually one of those women. I didn't know what that was 10 years ago. I'd never heard the word.
Yeah,
I'd only ever
I
heard the word
didn't.
menopause, never heard the word
yeah.
peri.
We all heard of menopause because it's the dreaded word, and our moms didn't talk about it, or anything about it. But the thing is, it's all about education. So I've been in so many conversations with women. There was a woman that said to me, she's actually on an episode of my podcast. She said to me she didn't know she could feel the changes. She wasn't concentrating. She was putting on weight. She felt tired, but she put it down to the fact that she has a young son who has some, health issues, and her mom had just passed, And then that she's, an entrepreneur running two businesses. So she put it down to that.
Mm,
And then as time went on, the more she was losing concentration and having that brain fog, she started to Google dementia online,
mm. Bless her.
right?
Yeah.
Mm,
And that's as she was doing her research, she stumbled across a paper written by a doctor who was talking about perimenopause. And
mm,
that's when she realized that, oh, this is similar. She looked at the symptoms. She's like, this is similar to what I'm going through. Then she went to see her GP and had the conversation with the GP. And she is a wellness person as well, but no, she also opted for HRT. So she does both, right? So that is a typical woman. That is the average woman juggling everything. You notice that you're not firing it off all cylinders. You
Yeah.
notice something's wrong. Either some women would pop a pill and say, keep going, or if they do know what's going on, it's like, okay, go to the doctor and just instinctively ask for HRT, which sometimes they would get. Some women have hit a brick wall where the doctor would say no, which I applaud those doctors because HRT isn't for everyone. But here's the thing. If you feel like, you're going through the symptoms, you think HRT is an option, I would encourage you to have that conversation with your healthcare provider and ask the questions there because they're pertinent questions that you need to ask before embarking on HRT. Because HRT, like I said before, isn't for everyone.
mm,
It isn't. I've been in so many Facebook groups. I see women posting about, I started HRT 2, 3 months ago, and my symptoms are worse. That's a sign it's not working for you, or you need something different. You should come off it and go have a conversation with your doctor, right? Or speak with a healthcare, another like a naturopath or someone like me who's focused on a menopause coach because we have a lot of menopause coaches, or go on to the Menopause Society, right? There's a lot of information out there, but the thing is, because women are in this space where there's so much to do. They're overwhelmed and not enough time. They need somebody to just say, here, this is going to support you. But it doesn't
Mhm.
work that way,
Yeah. No.
unfortunately.
mm.
No.
Yeah,
Life never just hands us the gifts that we need, does
doesn't.
it?
Exactly.
We have to go looking, we have to go delving, and we have to sometimes go down many different paths before we find the right one.
Yeah.
And some of the women that I've been talking to over the last few months have been telling me that, they go down one path, and if that didn't work, they kind of sometimes give up and think, well,
Yeah,
nothing's
they
going to
do.
help,
Yeah.
because I haven't got the time
To
to
keep
to
searching.
deal with the aftermath of, oh God, that's made it worse. Because the
Mm,
thought of making it worse is worse than what they're dealing with in the
exactly.
process, you know?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I,
Yeah.
I feel for a lot of women. For me, I don't, the perimenopause, I did have some symptoms. I don't have any symptoms right now, but I put it down to me being aware, like both of you, of your body, what your body needs and what you need to do. So it is, unfortunately, women have to look for that tiny, tiny space of time
Mhm.
to either find somebody to support them or find the right information. And
Mm,
unfortunately, a lot of GPs don't have time, haven't been well schooled where menopause is concerned, and that's an unfortunate thing. And if you don't have a GP that has the time to spend with you, I'm so lucky and blessed that my GP will sit down and have a good conversation with me for at least 15, 20 minutes. That's not standard
No.
at all. You go in for 5 minutes and come out with a prescription.
Hmm.
Lately, I've been to see my GP and I've never come out with a prescription, but I've come out with some information that helped me, right?
mm,
Because
Beautiful.
he knows what I do. And he feels like I'm teaching him, he's teaching me.
mm,
That's
So
good.
which is a good balance. But I would encourage women to where your GP is concerned, if you're not getting the support that you feel like you need, find somebody else.
mm.
Hmm.
Find another GP that will
Totally
support
agree.
you. because
And I think that's it, isn't it? We have to kind of try and give women the space to say, look, you are worth the effort. It is worth the effort.
yeah,
I mean,
never take it's all in your mind or it's just natural, just deal with it. Don't take that, I don't know even what it's not advice, it's just dismissal.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
I
It
feel it's a lack of education as a whole. Like you say,
is. Yeah.
the how can I put it? The medical system that we have, I don't think it really supports humans as a whole. And
Mhm.
that's another story. But yeah, and many women tend to f find themselves in a place of, oh, this is happening to me. I hadn't been to the doctors for 5 years. And when I went to see him, the first thing he said to me, oh, I'd like to take some blood from you. And I'm like, why? I'm coming to talk to you about my this. And he said, well, I haven't seen you in 5 years, Helen. I just want to check that your hormones are okay because you're at a certain age. And I'm like, okie
Mhm.
dokie. So I went through the process, and obviously he said that I was fine. Everything seemed quite well within me. I know that because I know I'm balanced as much as I can be within myself.
Mhm.
But it's the lack of education and having talks like this and opening up to I suppose a natural path or the old ways is what I will say, because before medicines came along, it started as a plant, and we are that disconnected from nature is something massive for me. We've become that disconnected from nature. We've become disconnected from ourselves and others. My ethos is to try and blend that and bring it back to that connection, that deeper connection. We have lots of plants out in nature that are free, and we don't have to go. It just takes a little bit of effort to start learning about these things or sharing it with the knowledge that and sharing that and supporting that going forwards. I do feel like the medical services, I will say, are getting better. Like when I went through fertility treatment, because I did have IVF treatment, I had 4 goes of that back, ooh, I'm going back about 15 years ago now. There was somebody there that was doing acupuncture. And I know that it needs to become more to the like GPs, the general practitioners, where they need to learn more about that and can sort of direct you. I feel natural medicines and talking therapies and acupuncture and dancing should be given out instead of a tablet. That this is where a lot of things would shift and the world would balance in a much more beautiful way. And it's very, very frustrating sometimes to recognize that there are so many women out there that are suffering in silence.
yeah,
They feel so isolated within themselves. And like I say, I feel the only way we can actually do this is to use our voices, share our truths and our journeys of our own personal experience to be able to support other women going forwards.
definitely, definitely. I absolutely agree. Some of the women that I've spoken to were sort of the late 60s, 70s
Mm,
age group. And they were telling me that sort of during their time as they were moving through the menopause, it really wasn't talked about. It was an embarrassment. It was keep it to yourself. It was the same kind of energy as if you're on your period, you don't talk
yeah.
about it. You just get on with it, like you said. And as you said, Gloria, women are suffering in silence. And
Mhm.
from their point of view, they can see the shift that women of my age now, the next generation, we are opening up, we are talking about it. And I'm trying to pass this on now to the next generation. Keep talking about it. Keep
Mhm.
opening up conversations. Don't suffer in silence. Ask the questions. I find it beautiful that, that it seems like you're having discussions with medical doctors, and I agree, even the one I went to, yes, I was offered HRT straight away, but when I went back and said, no, it's not really working for me, first thing she said was, well, let's look at some natural ways. and she was really into that.
Good.
So together we were, she was giving me some ideas. Always go and look for something that has, some of these certain mushrooms in. Lion's mane kept coming up all the time. My brain's
Then you
gone
have
about
no,
all the
you
others.
have phytoestrogens as well, which are plant estrogens, that you can
Yeah, yeah.
actually get from
Mm,
the likes of flax seeds, right? And
yeah.
organic soy products. So there is a lot out there, and talking about plants, there are essential oils that you can use to support hormonal health as well. There's clary,
Mm,
even lavender,
mm,
everybody thinks it's just for sleep, has hormonal properties as well. Because that's something else I do work with, and I've studied. I'm a certified aromatherapist, but I've always loved the idea of oils and massage and everything. Anything to pamper me, please, I'm there, right? Um, but I look at these tools as God's gift and blessing to mankind, because when He created us, He said, "Go feed off the land." He knew what he was doing when he created the earth and created humans after to feed off the earth. And
Yeah.
that's why our bodies respond instinctively to plant-based, not
mm,
factory-based, not
mm,
processed foods,
Yeah.
right? You have to look at, especially when we're in this space, because as I'm working with a lot of people, women, and coaching a lot of women, what keeps coming up is gut health issues. So the first thing is that your nervous system is dysregulated. Let's look at why. You're highly stressed, and then you're having gut health issues. Those three are top of the list. And that's why your menopause symptoms are exacerbated,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
right? So this is what I teach women, and I'm just currently preparing for a 5-day boot camp in middle of June, which is free for 5 days, where I'm teaching this for an
Oh,
hour.
yeah. Tell us about that. Tell us about
Yeah,
it.
so I'm just putting together the content. It's the first time I'm doing a boot camp. I usually just run webinars, that are educational to support women. But I decided, I've been on boot camps myself, right? And I realized that I'm getting a ton of information from these boot camps. Why don't I do something like this myself, which is 5 days, 15th June to 19th June, in the evening, 7 p.m., in my Facebook group, where I'm talking about hormone reset. And that's focusing on perimenopause and menopause, right? Understanding the biology, the gut health issues, right? As well as the nervous system. We need to understand that that nervous system is so, so important. And the first way, one of the ways you can reset your nervous system is sleep. But that's kind of counterproductive, because at this point in time, a lot of women have having insomnia. They're waking up between 2 and 4 a.m. because of hot flushes, night sweats, and the like. So how do we work through that? So I'm going to be talking about all that. And I feel that women need that information for free, right? And that was also the reason why I started my podcast. It's there. So it's something you can just plug your earphones in, and just you're driving, or in the car you're driving, and just listen to it,
Mm,
because it's all information that will help support every woman, with little tips and tools that are not excessive, little things like just breath work.
mm,
If you feel you're dysregulated, just a deep breath. 2 minutes is all you need to get that reset started, in very little dose, but it does wonders, right? So
yeah.
that's why, Monday, June 15th to 19th is when I'm having the 5-day hormone reset boot camp. And it's all information free. Come to it. And I open up enrollment to my 12-week coach one-on-one coaching program. So all that information is there, and people will get bonuses for coming on live. So I'll share the link with you when, later on today,
Yes. Yes,
Paula.
oh,
please.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful gift, and we need more of this, don't we? We need to signpost women to
Mm.
this. It is about educating women as well as educating society.
Mhm.
But I wonder, is it also about educating men? I've been married for 33 years. You know, I have the most loving husband. But
Mm.
when I ask him, what does he think menopause is and what I'm going to experience, it was um, uh, and then the first thing he said, you know, he said, well, aren't you going to grow hair on your chin?
Oh gosh.
Oh, that's really
And
good.
Oh
I said,
yeah.
is that what you actually think? That's what's going to happen? He said, well, you know, I don't know. He said, you're going to get hot. Yeah, okay. You know, so I do think there's this element of yes, we need to signpost the women, educate the women, just as you said, Helen, no, just little tweaks, just do something, find something that works for you. And I do wonder if it's also about the men, you know, because it's the men who are telling these women, oh,
Mm,
you know, you're fat, you're ugly, you
mm.
know, you're stupid, you know, all those horrible words that were said at the beginning. It's like, but where's that come from? That's come from ignorance, obviously.
It is.
That's generational, that. I'd say
It
that was
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
generational as a whole,
Yeah.
you know. That's
Yeah.
a different subject, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's generational. We've been conditioned into ignoring ourselves and sacrificing ourselves as women. You know, we're nurturing, we're here to nurture, we're here to
Mm,
create. We're
mm,
not here to sacrifice ourselves. And it's taken me a long time to recognize that in myself, you know.
mm,
good.
The lack of education, I say, not just for men or women, but younger generation as well, because every woman on this planet that, you know, every girl that on this planet goes through the process of menopause, whether it's in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, some people. It's a big open um space where you could go at any point depending on what's gone on with yourself as a whole. And like if you're going through like different treatments, like you said before, Gloria, about the cancer
mm,
treatments that you had put you through the menopause. When I went through IVF treatment, I went through exactly the same thing. I had to be put into a menopausal state
mm,
to reboot me back up so that they could collect and harvest the eggs for the embryos. Yeah, I had an experience when I was in my late 30s and my 40s while I was going through that. But I don't have that same experiences that I've got as a natural path of going through my natural menopause.
mm,
It's, you know, I felt completely overwhelmed with emotion. I didn't know whether I was coming or going when I was on the treatment. Whereas this time, I've come in it from a natural path. I've allowed myself to take the gentle steps forward
mhm.
through menopause or premenopausal and into menopause. It's allowed me to do this and speak and open and share. I'd love to go on your Facebook thing that you're doing in June, Gloria. That
Yeah,
sounds
I'll share it.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You're such a
Thank
beautiful
you.
woman, sharing and giving your education and your knowledge for free. Wow,
Mm.
beautiful.
Yeah,
That
it's,
is a gift.
I just feel it's something that I tend to do things out of my own personal journey, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
I got into health and wellness because I went through the cancer treatment. And I realized that I wanted to learn, I wanted to understand why, how I can heal, and what I'm going to do next. And that's how, a book came out of it. I didn't plan to write a book, but that's why I wrote my book, which is focused on foods, because you start with foods, right?
mm,
And, I just felt like, and then I trained, for, in New York and all that. But the thing is, what came out of my training is that you can prevent disease, right? There's
mm,
a lot that is
Definitely.
so preventable.
mm.
But should I say society or the world, or should I just go straight to the point and say big pharma is not allowing us to do that?
Yeah,
Because
Totally agree.
everything is a pill.
yeah.
Everything, however, minimal or big or whatever, everything, there is a pill for it, and they keep prescribing, 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 right? And going back to the menopause and where it's at, where to your point, Paula, about the educating the men, what I will say is that this stage of life is where you see a high rate of divorce,
Mm.
Why?
Yeah.
Because it's probably down to men not understanding what women are going through, what their wives are going through, etc. Right?
Hmm.
And the
And
women not
and
tolerating it.
that too, because they come to that point like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. So there's that as well. And it is a huge point on education because if women don't understand it, how are men supposed to understand it? How are
Mm.
men
Yeah.
supposed to understand how to, because you, in essence, have to communicate and treat your wife differently because she's in a different zone. And if
Yeah.
they don't understand it and they get frustrated, and especially when it comes down to the topic of sex,
Mm.
you don't understand why a woman doesn't want to have sex because it feels like, she's literally has glass, in her vagina when having
Yeah.
sex. Men don't know that, but women, they do not want to have sex feeling like that. But
Mm.
they cannot communicate with their partners exactly what they're feeling, and the partners are not understanding why they're not intimate anymore, or several different other things going on.
Mm.
So it is education. And
Mm.
that's why I do what I do, because as I'm finding out the information for myself, women need to know it. They need to know, they need to understand, and need the support on how to communicate with your partner to help them understand what's going on with you and also help you find tools to support your body in a natural way, right?
Mm.
So mind-body connection, those two are so intertwined you can't break it. Although the medical system treats them separately, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you cannot treat them separately. They have to be treated together,
Mhm.
right? So that's
Yeah.
why there's a
Yeah.
lot going on. So it's always, Paula, we could sit here talking till tomorrow. So I'm just going to shut up for
We really
now.
could. We really could. I mean, there are so many things that I wanted to cover. Things like um, we're just talking about education. How far back, do we go? Do we start them off in secondary school and say, because, I
Yeah.
remember us talking
Yeah.
in school about,
Mm.
well, this is a period and this is a man and this is a woman and this is the body parts. But no one ever mentioned menopause. No one ever mentioned that the latter half of life. It was just, well, this is all you need to know now. And I've had to learn it as I've gone along. And thankfully, I'm that kind of woman. I'm a very spiritual woman. I
Mm.
work with women. I do a lot of women's workshops. So I've met a lot of women and we talk. Women do talk. And that's how I've learned,
Mm.
you know, and I suppose I consider myself very lucky. But,
Yeah.
like I said before, there are some women who could be very isolated. They have no idea what's going on. And it's about,
Mm.
as you say, getting these videos out so they can try and find them on YouTube. And Gloria, please, please put your Facebook link on it, and
Mm.
anything else that you want to put on.
Yeah.
And we'll put that underneath this video because I think it's very, very important that women
Mm.
have avenues, they have choices,
Mm.
Yeah. And
you
I,
know?
I completely agree with you, Paula, when you say you have to start them early because the other stages that women go through before getting through the menopause, the early puberty, the reproductive stage, the
Yeah.
fertility, the perimenopause, then the menopause, then the postmenopause. We can't just go from puberty, menopause. You have to understand what's going on in between,
Mm.
looking at, and also at what Helen went through. You went through fertility. There are millions of women going through fertility. Why
Mm.
are women having to go through fertility? That's a whole other topic that we can
That's
talk
a
about.
big, yeah,
That's
gosh, yeah.
big, big topic
That
we can
may
talk
Yeah.
be,
about. Yeah.
definitely another month. But I'm very aware of time, and I'm aware that we are coming to the end of this now. So, if you had to give a woman advice, Gloria, what would you say to a woman? Very short. What would you say?
Take the time to understand your body. What it's trying to, because our body sends us messages. We need to understand, listen, and understand what it's saying to us. And if you have a GP that isn't working for you and is dismissing you, fire him and find another. We can do that. It's within our rights to do that. So you
Yeah,
can ask for somebody else.
Mm.
beautiful, beautiful. And Helen, what would you say to someone?
I would say try and take yourself into consideration for 5 minutes to feel into what you feel that you need for your own body. You know, some people will go carry on and take the HRT, not saying that it's wrong. It's not my path, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, search, look for, find, and educate yourself, you know. There's YouTube, there's so many different platforms these days where you can find information. There are also support groups for the menopause. I know that they're online, but I know that they do them in certain communities as well, where they meet once a month or whatever in a community centre or wherever it is. So allow yourself to expand and find your own way. Give yourself permission to rest because we're taught keep going, do, next goal, next thing, keep going. It's faster and faster and faster. Allow yourself to take 3 breaths, breathe in and out, and feel into what it actually is that your body actually needs. Because I feel you've got the mind, body, and spirit where you need to be able to keep all three connected within the balancing of the self. But initially, we are a dense body energy. The physical body is the first thing that shows us signs of change within our systems. So to just allow yourself to give yourself permission to rest
Beautiful.
and breathe.
Yeah, yeah. And on the back of that, I would say to any woman, just remember that you are just as important as everybody else. And you're worth
Yeah.
taking, even if it's 5 minutes a day, go delve. Go look, as you say, go look on social media. Go look to see what's happening in the local community. Absolutely. I love that. I love
Mm,
that. So, ladies, I mean, as we said, we could talk about this forever because this is such a huge topic. And maybe we'll come at it from another avenue another time.
mm,
But I would really like to thank my guests. Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you, Helen, for joining me. And on that note, next month we're going to be discussing, who knows? I haven't decided yet, but it'll be something to do that affects women every day. So thank you. I hope you can join me next month, and I'll see you next month for Everyday Talks with me, Paula Roscoe. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Paula.
much.
thank
Thank
you.
you.